and get back to our real source, the real world, the world where we come from, the eternal world, the spiritual world. So, of course, every religion has some information about the spiritual world, about God. But the problem with religion in general is that it tries to project this knowledge on the material world and give us a process that requires material activity, which is supposed to result in some kind of spiritual benefit later on. You see? And this requires faith. So they say, just believe and you'll be saved. As if that was enough. Well, let me ask you something. If I believe that if I work for a certain company, I'm going to get money. So I go to my desk at my job every morning and I believe I'm going to get paid. I just sit there and believe like anything. Then one day my boss comes along and says, hey, aren't you doing any work? No, I just believe. I believe I'm going to get paid, boss. Well, he's going to say, I believe you're fired. So, you see, this belief is not enough. There has to be some process. There has to be some step-by-step activity, something we can do. Or at least there has to be some knowledge. There has to be some theory. There has to be some background or some science to it. You see, and this is what's missing from religion. In religion, some of the basic facts of spiritual life are there, and we're not arguing with those. It's certainly better to believe in God than not to believe in God. It's certainly better to believe in being a good person than not to believe in being good. But we also have to do something about it. And this is where religion is lacking in knowledge. We don't have in religion a deep knowledge of the process of spiritual life, of the nature of the soul. And this esoteric teaching is so wonderful because it gives that knowledge. It gives deep knowledge, profound knowledge of these things. I mean volumes and volumes and shelves and rooms full of books. You can't read them all. There's not enough time in one lifetime. So our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, went through and he selected just the cream, just the essence, just the most essential of all of this vast, wonderful knowledge from the Vedas. And he translated it into English. And because he is a self-realized soul, he is giving his commentary from his viewpoint of being experienced in spiritual life. He's not just theorizing, he's not just speculating, he's not giving his own opinion either. He's simply explaining these ancient books and this ancient knowledge in the light of his personal experience. These books are so wonderful that anybody who reads them, well, let me give you an example. The knowledge of the soul that we talked about, this is there in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. See, so by the second chapter, they have already surpassed all the knowledge of ordinary religion, ordinary spiritual paths, ordinary theology, philosophy, or any other branch of knowledge concerning spiritual life. See? By the end of the second chapter, they've already gone beyond, you know. If other religions, you know, were like traveling to the moon, by the time you finish the second chapter, they're already at Mars. You see? And there's still 16 chapters more. So try to understand how advanced this knowledge is. And Bhagavad Gita is just considered the introduction. This is the first book that people read, or the first book that we advise them to study. So just try to understand how high, how complete, how powerful this esoteric teaching is. The esoteric teaching is very, very old. It's the oldest source of any kind of information on this planet. And unlike other spiritual cultures like the Egyptian culture, the Mayan culture, and so many others, this culture is still living, unbroken. There has never been a time when there was no living representative of this Vedic culture on this planet. The parampara, or the disciplic succession of spiritual masters, is unbroken, going all the way back to Krishna himself. This path, this is the most wonderful, most valuable thing, because the very first thing that it does is it shows us a goal, a distinct, clear goal to attain in spiritual life. And then it gives us all the means how to reach it. Very, very scientific, very practical. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And the nice thing about it is, if you do these practices, you get the result immediately. Because all these practices result in changing your consciousness. And when you, as soon as you change your consciousness, then you get the result. So if you perform the process properly, you immediately get the result and you can feel it. All these people are here today. We didn't bribe them. We didn't pay their ticket. They're coming from all over the U.S., all over the world, even. Mike is here from UK, and Teo's here from Canada. And I mean, if the devotees in Australia had the money, they would be here too. So everybody wants to be here. Why? Just to hear and chant. Hearing and chanting, these are our main processes. And if you do these processes according to all the procedures given in the scriptures, and with the proper understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, plus with a very clear conception of the final goal, you will feel immediate results, immediate response. That's why these people are here. I didn't hypnotize them, you know. I didn't, Babaji gestures hypnotically. You are not your body. But even if I could, that really wouldn't do anybody any good. Unless they understand themselves and realize for themselves, then any other thing that we could do would just be temporary. So by them getting the knowledge for themselves and actually doing the process for themselves, then they take that knowledge with them. They take that result with them, and they can reproduce that anywhere. It's very scientific. Vikram, did you have a question?
I had 3.
3 questions. Oh, boy. How old are you?
7.
7. So you have actually unlimited questions. I know about 7-year-old boys. I used to was one.
First question. You said that consciousness comes to God, and sometimes people are unconscious. You said that as long as people are conscious, there's proof that God is there. What about when people fall unconscious?
Well, are they unconscious really? Let's think about this.
Because when they fall down...
I know, okay, just take it easy. I understand the question. Okay, what happens every night when you're asleep?
Your eyes closed.
I'm going to get to that. You detach your consciousness from the senses, but the mind remains attached. So then, even though you're not in your body like you usually are, you have all kinds of dreams, right? So where are you when you're dreaming? Nobody knows, right?
In a parallel universe?
Something like that. Yeah. So you're certainly not here. You're certainly not in this body, and you're not attached to the senses. But still you're having experiences, you're performing activities, you're having emotions, sensations, you're moving around, you're doing things, all kinds of stuff is going on. But if you look the person who's asleep, you would say, oh, they're unconscious. You see? So what we call so-called unconsciousness is actually just that the consciousness becomes disconnected from the body. That's all. But you're still conscious. You're just not conscious of the body. You're conscious of something else.
And question number 2, you like, does immortal mean like you live through, like even when this material world is destroyed, then where do you go if you're immortal?
That's a very good question. When this material world is destroyed, all the souls in this material world are absorbed back